Have you ever felt like you're carrying a weight so heavy that it's crushing your soul? Like you're walking through life with invisible chains wrapped around your heart, dragging behind you the remnants of every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment when life didn't turn out the way you hoped it would. Tonight, as you settle into this quiet space, I want you to know something profound. You don't have to carry that weight anymore. There's someone who sees every crack in your heart, every tear you've cried in the darkness, every prayer you've whispered when you thought no one was listening, and he's been waiting for this very moment to meet you right where you are. In the stillness of this evening, we're going to discover something that will transform not just how you see your pain, but how you understand the very nature of healing itself. This isn't just another message about feeling better. This is about encountering the one who doesn't just patch up your wounds, but who makes all things new. The one who doesn't just offer temporary relief, but who provides eternal restoration. You see, brokenness isn't your enemy. I know that sounds impossible to believe right now, especially if you're in the middle of it. But what if I told you that your brokenness is actually the very place where heaven touches earth? What if the cracks in your heart aren't signs of your failure, but invitations for divine light to pour in? Tonight, we're going to walk together through the gentle presence of Jesus, who specializes in the impossible, who takes what seems utterly destroyed and creates something more beautiful than what existed before. And as we journey through this time together, you're going to discover that rest isn't just the absence of struggle. True rest is finding peace in the midst of the storm, knowing that you're held by hands that will never let you go. But before we dive deeper into this life-changing truth, let me share with you why this matters so much right now. We live in a world that tells us to hide our pain, to push through our struggles, to pretend that we have it all together. Social media shows us everyone else's highlight reel while we're stuck comparing it to our behind-the-scenes reality. We've been conditioned to believe that brokenness is something to be ashamed of, something to fix as quickly as possible, something to hide from others and even from ourselves. Yet here's what I've discovered through years of walking with people in their darkest moments, and through my own journey through valleys I never thought I'd survive. The very thing we try so desperately to hide is the very thing that makes us most human, most relatable, and most ready to experience the kind of love that changes everything. Jesus doesn't just tolerate your brokenness. He's drawn to it. While the world steps back from your pain, he steps closer. While others offer you Band-Aid solutions, he offers you complete transformation. While the enemy whispers lies about your worth, Jesus speaks truth over your identity. And here's the beautiful mystery we're going to unpack together. When Jesus heals your brokenness, he doesn't erase your story. He doesn't pretend your pain never happened. Instead, he weaves your scars into something so beautiful, so purposeful, that you'll look back and marvel at how he used the very thing that almost destroyed you to become the foundation of your greatest strength. Think about this for a moment. Every person who has ever made a significant impact in the kingdom of God, every individual who has brought hope to the hopeless and light to those in darkness, has one thing in common. They've been broken. They've walked through valleys. They've experienced the kind of pain that reshapes your entire understanding of life. Moses was a murderer who became a deliverer. David was an adulterer who became a man after God's own heart. Peter was a denier who became a bold proclaimer. Paul was a persecutor who became an apostle. Mary Magdalene was tormented by demons who became the first witness to the resurrection. Do you see the pattern here? God doesn't use perfect people. He uses broken people who've learned to find their wholeness in Him. He uses wounded healers who understand pain because they've lived through it themselves. He uses cracked vessels because that's where His light shines through most brilliantly. But here's what makes this so different from every other self-help message you've ever heard. This isn't about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. This isn't about positive thinking or finding your inner strength. This is about discovering that the God of the universe has such tender affection for you that He enters into your pain, sits with you in your darkness, and begins a work of restoration that only He can accomplish. When Jesus walked this earth, He didn't avoid the broken places. He sought them out. The lepers who were untouchable, He touched. The woman caught in adultery who was condemned, He defended. The tax collector who was despised, He chose. The thief on the cross who was dying, He saved. The disciples who abandoned Him, He forgave and restored. This same Jesus is with you right now in this very moment. He sees the pain you've been carrying. He knows the weight of the disappointment that's been crushing your spirit. He understands the depth of the loneliness that's been eating away at your hope. And He's not shocked by any of it. He's not disappointed in you. He's not keeping a record of your failures. Instead, He's reaching out His nail-scarred hands toward you with such gentleness, such patience, such unwavering love, that if you could see it with your physical eyes, you'd be overwhelmed by the beauty of His compassion. And this is where our journey really begins. Because healing isn't just about feeling better. Healing is about becoming whole in a way that's deeper than you ever imagined possible. It's about discovering that your identity isn't defined by what happened to you, but by what God says about you. It's about learning that your worth isn't determined by your performance, but by His unconditional love for you. Tonight, as we continue this journey together, we're going to explore 3 profound truths that will revolutionize how you understand both your brokenness and God's heart toward you. First, we'll discover why Jesus is uniquely qualified to heal your specific kind of pain. Second, we'll uncover the gentle process by which He brings restoration to the deepest places of your heart. And finally, we'll learn how to rest in His presence, even while the healing is still taking place. But I want you to know something important as we prepare to go deeper. This isn't going to be a quick fix. Real healing takes time. It happens in layers, like the gentle peeling back of an onion, one tender layer at a time. There will be moments of breakthrough and moments that feel like setbacks. There will be days when you feel the warmth of His presence so strongly that you're certain you'll never doubt again, and days when the darkness feels so thick you wonder if He's really there at all. That's normal. That's part of the process. That's how transformation works in the kingdom of God. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about learning to trust the one who does. So take a deep breath with me right now. Feel the air filling your lungs, a reminder that you're alive, that there's still hope, that this story isn't over yet. In fact, the most beautiful chapters may still be waiting to be written. As we settle deeper into this sacred moment, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a master craftsman working with clay that has been shattered into countless pieces. The world would look at those fragments and see only destruction, only waste, only something to be discarded. But this craftsman sees something entirely different. He sees potential. He sees beauty waiting to emerge. He sees a masterpiece that can only be created from something that has been broken. This is how Jesus sees you tonight. Not as damaged goods, not as beyond repair, not as a project too complicated to take on. He sees you as his beloved, his treasured one, his masterpiece in progress. And the very places where you feel most broken are the very places where he wants to begin his most beautiful work. But here's what makes Jesus different from every other healer, every other counselor, every other person who has ever tried to help you through your pain. He doesn't heal you from a distance. He doesn't offer you solutions from the safety of his throne room in heaven. No, he steps directly into your mess, into your chaos, into the very center of your storm. When he walked this earth 2,000 years ago, he didn't just talk about healing, he embodied it. He didn't just teach about restoration, he demonstrated it. And most remarkably, he didn't just offer hope to the broken. He became broken himself so that his brokenness could heal yours. Think about this profound mystery. The one who had never known sin took on the weight of every sin that has ever been committed. The one who had never experienced separation from the Father cried out in agony as that separation became his reality. The one who was perfect wholeness allowed himself to be shattered so that your shattered pieces could be made whole. This means that when Jesus approaches your pain, he's not approaching it as someone who has never suffered. He's approaching it as someone who has suffered more deeply than you ever could. When he reaches toward your broken heart, those are hands that know what it feels like to be pierced. When he speaks comfort to your wounded spirit, that's a voice that has cried out from the depths of anguish. He knows what it's like to be misunderstood by the people closest to you. He knows what it's like to be abandoned in your darkest hour. He knows what it's like to carry a burden so heavy that you sweat drops of blood under the weight of it. He knows what it's like to feel forsaken, to question why suffering has to be so intense, to wonder if there's any other way through the darkness. But here's the breathtaking part of this story. He chose it all, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Not because there was no other option, but because his love for you was so overwhelming, so consuming, so relentless, that he would rather experience every form of human brokenness himself than live eternity without you. This changes everything about how we understand our pain. It's no longer just random suffering with no meaning. It's no longer just bad luck or unfortunate circumstances. It's the very ground where heaven and earth meet, where divine love and human need intersect, where the God of the universe demonstrates the lengths he will go to reach you. And when Jesus heals your brokenness, he doesn't do it by erasing your memory or pretending your pain never existed. He does it by entering into your story and transforming its meaning. He takes the chapters that felt like endings and reveals them to be transitions. He takes the moments that felt like defeat and shows you how they were actually preparation for victory. This is why some of the most powerful testimonies you'll ever hear come from people who have walked through the deepest valleys. They don't just talk about healing in theoretical terms. They speak with the authority of someone who has experienced it firsthand. They don't just offer hope as a nice idea. They extend it as a lifeline because they know how desperately it's needed and how miraculously it works. But let me tell you something that might surprise you about this healing process. It rarely happens the way we expect it to. We come to Jesus with our list of what needs to be fixed, our timeline for when we want it completed, our specific instructions for how we think it should unfold. We want healing to be immediate, painless, and obvious to everyone around us. Yet Jesus, in his infinite wisdom and boundless love, often works in ways that are far more beautiful and far more thorough than anything we could have imagined. Sometimes healing comes through the slow, gentle work of time and grace. Sometimes it comes through the surprising gift of new relationships that restore our faith in love. Sometimes it comes through opportunities to help others that suddenly give meaning to our own suffering. Sometimes healing looks like learning to live fully in spite of circumstances that haven't changed. Sometimes it looks like discovering strength you never knew you had. Sometimes it looks like finding peace in the midst of ongoing struggle, joy in the middle of continued challenge, hope that persists even when answers don't come. And sometimes, in ways that can only be described as miraculous, healing comes as a sudden breakthrough, an unexpected restoration, a divine intervention that leaves no doubt about the reality of God's power and love. But whether it comes slowly or suddenly, gently or dramatically, partially or completely, one thing remains constant. Jesus is present in every moment of the process. He's present in the waiting. He's present in the wondering. He's present in the questioning and the doubting and the struggling to believe. He's present in the small steps forward and the occasional steps back. He's present in the breakthrough moments and the setback seasons. He's present when you feel him strongly and when you can't sense him at all. This is what it means to rest in Jesus while he heals your brokenness. It's not passive resignation or giving up on the possibility of change. It's active trust in the character and heart of the one who holds your story. It's choosing to believe that his love for you is not dependent on how quickly you heal, or how perfectly you perform, or how completely you have it all together. Rest means remembering that you are not responsible for fixing yourself. Your job is not to figure out the perfect formula for healing, or to work harder at getting better, or to somehow earn your wholeness through spiritual performance. Your job is simply to remain open to his love, available to his grace, willing to receive what he wants to give you. And what he wants to give you is himself. Not just healing, but the healer. Not just restoration, but relationship with the restorer. Not just the solution to your problems, but fellowship with the one who walks with you through every problem and beyond every solution into a future more beautiful than you can imagine. This is the mystery that transforms everything about how we understand both suffering and healing. When you rest in Jesus, you're not just finding temporary comfort from your pain. You're discovering that your pain has been woven into a larger story of redemption that began before you were born and will continue long after you've gone home to heaven. You see, your brokenness didn't catch God off guard. He wasn't pacing the throne room of heaven, wondering what to do about your situation. He wasn't scrambling to come up with a backup plan when your life took that unexpected turn. Your pain didn't disrupt his purposes for your life. Instead, it became part of the very foundation upon which he would build something extraordinary. But here's where this gets deeply personal and profoundly beautiful. The way Jesus heals your specific brokenness is unlike how he heals anyone else's. He doesn't use a one-size-fits-all approach. He doesn't apply the same technique to every wounded heart. Instead, he crafts a healing process that is uniquely designed for who you are, where you've been, and where he's taking you. Think about a master physician who doesn't just treat symptoms, but understands the intricate details of each patient's medical history, their genetic makeup, their lifestyle, their fears, their hopes. Now imagine that physician having infinite wisdom, unlimited resources, and perfect love for each person under his care. This is how Jesus approaches your healing. He knows you better than you know yourself, and He loves you more than you could ever comprehend. This means that the timeline of your healing is not a reflection of your faith or your worth. It's a reflection of His perfect wisdom in knowing exactly what you need and when you need it. Some wounds require immediate attention to prevent further damage. Others need time to be properly prepared before the deepest work can begin. Some healing happens in public, witnessed by many, becoming a testimony that encourages countless others. Other healing happens in the secret places of your heart, known only by you and the one who never leaves your side. What matters is not the speed of your healing, but the certainty of your healer's love. What matters is not the method He chooses, but the faithfulness He demonstrates. What matters is not how your story compares to someone else's, but how your story reveals His glory in ways that only your story can. And as this healing unfolds, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to see your past differently. Those moments that felt like the end of your story become the plot twists that made your story more compelling. Those seasons of darkness become the backdrop against which His light shines most brilliantly. Those relationships that wounded you become the very places where you learn to recognize and receive authentic love. This doesn't mean that the pain wasn't real or that the damage didn't matter. It means that nothing in your life is wasted when it's surrendered to the hands of the one who specializes in redemption. Every tear you've cried becomes seed for a harvest of compassion you'll extend to others. Every night you've spent awake with worry becomes preparation for the peace you'll carry into future storms. Every time you felt abandoned becomes the foundation for understanding just how precious you are to the one who will never leave you. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this healing journey is what happens to your capacity to love. As Jesus heals your brokenness, He doesn't just restore what was damaged. He actually expands your heart's ability to give and receive love in ways that wouldn't have been possible without the breaking. It's like a bone that has been fractured and properly healed. The place where it was broken often becomes stronger than the original bone ever was. Your heart, as it's healed by Jesus, develops a strength and depth of compassion that can only come from having been broken and made whole again. You find yourself able to sit with people in their pain without trying to fix them, because you know the value of simply being present. You discover you can offer hope without minimizing suffering, because you understand that hope and sorrow can coexist. You learn to love people not despite their brokenness, but through it, because you've experienced how sacred and beautiful the broken places can be when they're touched by divine love. This is why your healing matters not just for you, but for everyone whose life you'll touch. Your restored heart becomes a place of refuge for other wounded hearts. Your testimony becomes a lighthouse for those still navigating their storms. Your scars become proof that healing is possible, that stories can be rewritten, that no one is beyond the reach of redeeming love. And in those moments, when you're able to extend to someone else the same kind of grace that was extended to you, you experience something that can only be described as the heart of God Himself beating within your chest. You realize that your healing was never just about you. It was about preparing you to be part of His healing work in the world. This is where rest and purpose intersect in the most beautiful way. As you learn to rest in His love for you, you become a conduit of that love for others. As you receive His grace for your failures, you become a grace giver to those who are failing. As you experience His patience with your slow progress, you develop patience for others who are struggling to move forward. So tonight, as you rest in this sacred space, know that your brokenness is not the end of your story, but the beginning of something magnificent. Jesus sees every fragment of your heart, and in His hands, those pieces become the foundation for a masterpiece that could only be created through your unique journey. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and feel His presence surrounding you with perfect love. Your healing has already begun, and in His perfect timing, you will discover that what felt like destruction was actually the doorway to the most beautiful chapter of your life.